Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Bytes, the Miami Herald's Miami Marlins podcast. I'm Jordan McPherson out in Phoenix. He's Andre Fernandez down in Miami. Dre, how are you?
Doing better than the Marlins are, that's for sure. I mean, but not just in the win and loss column, but even off the field, as we've seen, three of their players drop under undisclosed circumstances, but we can pretty much tell what that kind of means, and which sucks because in general we keep hoping not to see this in sports, but hopefully it's nothing too serious and they're dealing with it okay and they can get over it soon. But flashes of 2020, unfortunately, with the way yeah, I see your face and I remember those days when you were out on the front lines, pretty much literally one of the few people that was out traveling about. That wasn't fun, and so I'm sure this is giving you flashbacks for sure of seeing MLB teams and other teams dealing with this.
Yeah, no, when Brian Anderson on Friday got put on the IL for quote unquote undisclosed reasons, I went, okay, I'm on the road, I'm covering his team, and it's happening again. Then John Birdie on Saturday, then Richard Blyer on Sunday, and I'm just at the point where as they continue this West Coast swing, again, that was all in San Diego. They start their series in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. Again, we're recording this on Monday, so they haven't started their series yet, but we're at the point where 3 guys in 3 days heading into their series in Arizona, and just reading between the lines, we all know what it is. It's COVID-related. Doesn't necessarily mean positive test, but 3 players were put on the injured list for something having to do with COVID-19, whether it's a positive test, close contact, or just symptoms, which means they could come off the IL at any given point once they're cleared, which just to give the background with how things have evolved since 2020, players who are vaccinated just need to get to the point where they're under the threshold of contagiousness. If they're not contagious and you're vaccinated, you're able to get cleared. If you're not vaccinated, I believe you have to wait at least a few days. I think it's 4 or 5. I don't remember the exact numbers. But after that, then you have to produce consecutive negative PCR tests, just like back in the day from 2 years ago. And just, again, the reading between the lines part of it, when the Marlins filled those empty spots on the active roster, they got to the point where they added 2 new contracts. They took the contracts of Joe Dunand and Eric Gonzalez from AAA. They only had 1 open 40-man spot. So you have 41 guys for 40 spots unless at least 1 guy's on the COVID IL, because the COVID IL, just like the 60-day IL, players don't count on toward the 40-man roster while they're on the COVID IL. So you have just that logic part of it, reading between the lines. Even if the team isn't directly saying it, I tried to nudge manager Don Mattingly, I think at least 2 or 3 different times over Saturday and Sunday. And his response was simply, we're going to pay attention to it. Didn't want to dive into too much detail. And the interesting one, when he explained to Joe Dunand Saturday about the potential call-up, it was more along the lines of, hey, get ready to play. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but some stuff's going down. Stuff being that key word. And when I followed up with him and going, so stuff.
I'm sure he used the word stuff. Let's just go with that.
Yeah. So when I followed up with him going, so this stuff and the fact that you've gone through this or the league and just the world in general has gone through what has been going through the last few years, his follow-up reply was, you want to be through with it, but we don't seem to be able to get past it. It keeps rearing its ugly little head. So again, without saying the word, he more or less gave what the reasoning was.
Right. It's in which must not be named territory for all you Harry Potter fans out there. But yes, we know, we pretty much can tell. I mean, but again, hopefully it's nothing major. Hopefully you don't keep seeing more and more of them having to be, knocked out of action for a while. But even with that, this team, just when you thought it was going to be like a streaky type of thing where, they win 7 in a row, they lost 6 in a row, and now maybe they started to climb back on the upswing. And then the disaster hits on Sunday afternoon, which, some would call poetic justice if you're a certain former catcher that used to play in Miami. But yeah, I mean, we were going to dive into that. Bullpen again, the mixing and matching. It just shows you that at some point you'd like them to have some stability at that closer spot, because that guessing, not guessing, but like that, the strategic placement of some guys here, some trying some here, some there. It's just not working out.
Yeah, no, it works until it doesn't. And
until it doesn't.
You saw on the 7-game win streak when they had, I think it was 4 guys get at least one save, but it's also the matter of just figuring out mentally for relievers. When you have the guys who are in the set roles, and it's like this guy A knows he's pitching the 7th, guy B knows he's pitching the 8th, guy C knows he's pitching the 9th, at least give them, when they see the team in a close game with a 1-2-3 run lead, they more or less have the idea of when they're going in. But then when you go with how the Marlins are doing it now, you look at, say, Anthony Bender again. He's been the main guy going in the 9th, and then Don Mattingly throws him out there in the 6th on Sunday, and you're starting to look at it, and it's like, okay, how are the pieces going to be following? How are a guy like Cole Solster, who's only pitched the 9th once, or pitched the 9th in a safe situation, I should say, and he's probably trying to figure out, okay, when am I going in here? When do I need to start mentally getting prepared? And then just trying to figure out that balance of guys figuring out when they're going to go out there, what they need to do, just what situation they're going to be presented with. And if you don't know it on a more or less regular basis, that can mentally have some impact there.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's always been with the closer role. I mean, the mental part, because there's something there. There's the big thing to be said about having someone that knows how to handle the elements, especially on the road when it gets a little crazy and the momentum is going, and the home fans are going nuts, or you're in Atlanta on the tomahawk chop, you name it, wherever you're at. There's something to be said about having the guy that every day knows this is up to me and can handle it. And even if it's not, even if you're not talking about a proven all-star caliber closer, but at least someone that consistently can handle that role. And they haven't had that, because the one guy they hope for is hurt. And what worries me for them, the true disaster would be if Floro does come back and then he's not effective, because that's the guy that is as close as you would think to be that type of guy to handle the role. And if that's bad, then what do? You know what I mean? Then at that point, it's like you're done. You have to play the mix and match game, and obviously that's not something in the long run that's reliable. It's proving not to be reliable in the long run. I mean, even Bender was good for a little bit, and then it blew up. I was there when it blew up on him against this Diamondbacks team that they're facing again this week. I mean, it's costing them a lot of wins. This is a team that, at the very least, was kind of staying in the pack, not falling out of it, hovering around the 500 mark. And it's still early, but at some point, the going up, it's what's going to knock you out of the race way earlier than you were hoping.
Yeah, and to touch on Dylan Floro, his last outing in AAA, he went 2 innings on Friday. When I asked Mattingly about it on Sunday, he said that the organization has liked how he's bounced back from each of his outings out there in AAA. And right now, it seems like a matter of time before he gets activated again, which, again, as you mentioned, would be good to see at least where he stands at this point, and whether the Marlins go straight to him being the 9th inning guy, or if they find ways to weave him in some of the setup roles before putting him back out there, just make sure he gets his feet wet again. That's another development. Let's see how they do.
And let's be clear, because it's not, Floro could come in and he could blow a save here, a save there. But if you trade 1 or 2 of those for every, 5, 6 that maybe he does, it's someone to just consistently be able to have that high percentage of closing them out. Not this guessing, not this, roll of the dice that we're doing right now. I mean, I know it's not that willy-nilly, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not that guy that you go in and okay, that's our 9th inning guy, barring something. Like, that's where they have to get to. And really, I mean, again, it's early, but if that keeps piling on, I know Mattingly's Mr. Even Keel, and that's great, but it is a little demoralizing for a team if it just continues to happen over and over at some point, later in the season. If you really do, especially when you really do feel that you have a squad that's good enough to at least be in contention or in the conversation, which they've shown some elements of that. We're not getting too carried away yet, but this team is, you can tell, has elements that they are better than before. And it would be frustrating to not see the full potential of it because, you just can't close out a game.
Yeah, and especially, again, as you mentioned, they're staying in attention. 6 of their 7 losses over they've lost 7 of their last 8. 6 of those 7 have been one-run games.
By 1 run.
With 2 of them being losses that were blown by the bullpen. As you mentioned, the Bender start, and then what happened on Sunday when Jorge Alfaro got the pinch hit, walk-off 3-run home run. And I'll just say this. I'm happy for Alfaro. I'm happy that he got his moment, which, again, and also when I was in the press box, and the second I see Alfaro step up to the plate, I looked to Christina D. Nicole of Marlins MLB.com writer and went, yeah, they just lost. For 2 reasons. One, Alfaro he has a knack for playing well against his former teams. You saw it when he was with Miami, how he was always dominant against the Phillies.
Philly. Yeah.
And also, he has the knack for the walk-off. So when you have both of those factors put together, it was just like, okay.
Yeah. That thing clicks in your brain like, this is going to write itself. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, and that's the kind of thing that just always happens, seems to always happen to the Marlins. Like, in the grand scheme, in the long term, you take a step back, everything that's happened, letting him go and all that, probably the right call for everybody. But of course, that one day, that one situation, that seems to just, of course it would happen to them. It's just like, it seems to always happen. They seem to be one of those, it happens to different teams in sports, but they're one of those, it seems like they're one of those franchises that little things like that, where it just bites them that one time, seems to happen a lot. So, not surprised. And what's up with the hair? I mean, he let it out, he colored it. What was that about?
Yeah, no, again, the Padres, apparently they've been referencing him as Aquaman to go off with the new version of it with Jason Momoa.
Yeah, kind of did.
It worked.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, if he keeps walking off for them, I mean, why not keep it?
Yeah, as he would say every time in clubhouse, SOA. SOA, baby.
Yeah. You gotta get if he's gonna go up like Jason Momoa and look and knock it out of the park, go for it.
Yeah.
Every time.
No, definitely, it's worked for him. And again, he's not an everyday guy in the lineup, but he's able to produce in the spots he comes in, and it works out for him, and it gives him a chance to jumpstart what the Marlins were hoping to see from him. If it jumpstarts himself individually for his career, I'm happy for the dude. Again, I know it didn't pan out in Miami, but being around him for the 3 years, he was a good guy to interact with. He was always willing. He was willing to talk. He was open. He opened up a lot more in that 2021 year after getting benched in the playoffs for Chad Wallace, when he basically took that as a wake-up call. And you saw the effort in there. You saw the want-to in there, even though it didn't pan out. And those are the type of guys you root for, even if it doesn't pan out. Those are the guys that you want to see be successful, even if it ends up being successful away from the team. Yeah.
Looking at another guy who knocked it out of the park, quite literally, and made some national news. Got you some more views on your stuff this weekend, which I had mentioned to you. I knew it was going to happen because it happened to me when I wrote about him back in the few years ago, back in the day, like 4 years ago is that long. But yeah, in Jupiter, Joe Dunand gets the call because of everything going on with the team right now, but makes the best of it. And then, his uncle right there, the whole family throwing a party, watching him, shouting it up, even cussing a little bit. It's like you got that video up on your story. I mean, what was it like seeing? Well, you talked to him after. What was Joe saying afterward after his big debut?
Yeah, so when I asked him first off about the home run in his first at bat, his response was, "Yeah, I think I blacked out until I was rounding second base, and then it was like, oh, this actually did happen." And then for him to follow it up with a double, and not only that, he was really good defensively at third base as well. It was an all-around great moment for him, even if the circumstances for him getting called up weren't ideal. It was a solid day for him, and for the time being, he's going to be with the club. And to go back to his uncle, which again I guess we have to explicitly mention, is Alex Rodriguez. Him watching.
No.
he posted a video of himself watching it and watching the home run. And when he said, "You got to be horse bleeping me," and my immediate response to Mr. Editor on the other side of this video was, how exactly do I write that to make sure it gets in the story? And
Mr. Kendall got excited, you know?
Yeah. Again, in the hood called Kendall. Is that how he called it?
That's right. Mr. Kendall got excited. Why not?
Yeah. No, but overall, it was a really good moment for Joe. And again, it sparked their one win that they've had through this 8-game run at this point. He got the home run that got him on the board. He had the double that got him on second, and then Garrett Cooper drove two in a couple batters later. It gave them that spark that they needed, and what looked like it was carrying over into Sunday as well, up until that final at bat.
Well, that's the part that too, like in all seriousness now, I mean, we've seen these, blips, like nice moments for guys before. I mean, hate to bring one up. I mean, one I thought of too immediately was Isan.
Yeah.
And then now he's not even with the team anymore. But like in Joe's case, hard to crack through on a long term right now with what they have, even though this team is all about versatile guys and they're kind of deep on that side of the infield. But it makes you wonder if it's something, at least like a building block for him going forward, where maybe now it's like, okay, now we have another backup option there for now that maybe we can turn to if he's consistent, if he builds off of this. Obviously, it's just a couple of days. Let's see how he does the next couple until guys get back. But, good for him. I mean, again, where it was sort of trending the last couple of years, you kind of just wondered if he'd even get a taste of the majors. It wasn't a lock. It wasn't a guaranteed thing. So when the other day the news came out that he was getting the call, it was like, oh, cool. At least, we get to see the moment where he gets at least a chance to get a few hacks and makes the best of it.
Yeah, and to go off of that, he really had some struggles the last couple of years. Obviously, him, just like everyone else in the minors with no minor league season in 2020, comes off of that with a really strong performance in winter ball, gets the invite into spring training, impresses the staff a lot in that spring before 2021. And then a few games in, injuries, had a hand injury that he had to stay out for 2 months, and just that entire season at that point. I think he hit below 200 at that point in the 2021 season. So he had to really refine himself after the rehab process, the trying to figure out if things are going to be able to pan out at some point, and then got off to a pretty good start this year. And with the Marlins being in the situation they brought him onto the West Coast trip for the taxi squad. And again, the moment came. The one thing that's going to be interesting is, again, once all three of these guys come back, they're going to have to make a move to cut the 40-man down to 40, whether it's DFAing Dunand or Eric Gonzalez, or moving one of their guys who's on the 10-day IL to the 60-day. Once that 40-man becomes full again, when these three guys who are out for, again, quote-unquote undisclosed reasons, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how the Marlins manage that with a guy who's been in their system and a veteran guy like Eric Gonzalez who could be that one of those key guys that could be one of those replacements when they have either an injury or another situation like this.
And Dunand contractually now would have to be DFA'd. He wouldn't be.
No, he could be optioned and stay on the 40-man. But the thing is, if you take someone off the 40-man, you have to DFA him.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's right, because he's not one. Right.
But Dunand, because this was his first time at the MLB, making his MLB debut, he has his three options. So when, let's just say, John Birdie or Brian Anderson, if one of them comes back, they could option Dunand and still be fine for right now until. Right. Again, it's once all three guys are back when they're going to have to determine who's the one.
That's
guy.
What I was thinking. I figured there was probably a way where they didn't have to cut him loose. I mean, who knows? Odds are he'd probably just circle back and they'd be able to get him back anyway. But the safer route where you don't have to put him out there, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it's going to be one of those fun things of playing with numbers, figuring out the roster crunch, and again, we'll see how that.
In his case, I just think going back, to not to make too much of it, but in this case, I mean, it's almost like he earned himself a little bit more of a chance to at least be considered as somewhere in that pecking order, a little bit lower than the guys right now, but at least now he's more of an option to look at than just, where he was before. So,
Correct.
so good for him. Good. And then Pablo, just, he's another one, continues just very impressive. And again, it's not, we keep saying it. It's the knock on wood, stay durable type of thing, because the results, will at least be close to this good, I think, if he can continue to pitch effectively.
Yeah, no, 8 shutout innings on Saturday. Got his ERA down to an even 1, which at the time of this recording leads MLB. And the thing is with Pablo specifically, and then also when you look at what, say, Trevor was able to do on Sunday and get through 5 innings, when you're able, the starting pitching, and this is going to circle back to the bullpen stuff, the starting pitching is basically playing a role in how the Marlins set up their bullpen. If the starting pitching is able to go deep like it did during that 7-game win streak, then there's a little more leniency, a little less decision-making has to be made with the bullpen. But when you go through what they did in the 6-game losing streak, where I think it was a 9 or just above a 9 ERA from the starting staff, and I think only one person went longer than 5 innings, that's when you start getting in trouble, and you have to start putting guys where you may not necessarily want to put them. And then if you do come back, it's sort of we use the guy we may have wanted to use later. How are we going to solve this? And it's with the Marlins, the Marlins needing to figure out how their strength can also help them figure out the bullpen and make things easier while they're still in this mix and match mode.
But encouraging to see what Rogers was able to do, because he's been one of the two that, the results haven't been that great so far. And you worry a little more about that Eliezer spot, I guess, in terms of, the hot and cold that he's been going through. Maybe a little more cold than hot, but I mean, I know we're going to talk a little more minors later on, but it kind of makes you wonder where Edward Cabrera's coming, and we'll get into more of that later. But, if he's healthy enough, it's almost like he could slip right into that one of those spots there, and just bolster that and just help that entire situation that you're talking about. I mean, Max Meyer, we don't know when, we don't want him to rush too much, and we don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, whether it's as a starter or maybe is he a bullpen guy down option, maybe, or at least try him out there at the beginning type of thing down the road. But Cabrera for sure would be a guy that as soon as he could finally, is able to go, would be that.
Yeah, and I guess since we're already here, let's just go straight into the minor league talk here. Edward Cabrera.
I accelerated things. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. No, it was a good segue to get into
this. It was F1 weekend. Everyone's going fast. Why not?
Yeah, what a race though. I got to catch a little bit of it while I was watching the Marlins game last night. Seemed like everything worked out there down at old Miami Gardens.
I was able to see Max in person up close the other day when they were at the ballpark, and he has that rep of being the bad guy on the circuit. So I mean, hey, it looks like it's hard to go wire to wire in any of these races, whether it's that, NASCAR, you name it. So that was impressive. Yeah,
but now back to baseball with Edward Cabrera specifically. Yeah. The one thing that he has the benefit of that Max Meyer doesn't, he's on the 40-man. So that gives you the easier route to bring him up without having to sacrifice somebody else, which again, they're already going to have to sacrifice at least one other guy when they go back to having all 3 of these guys who are out for undisclosed reasons. I'm just going to keep saying that as many times as I can if you haven't already noticed on this episode. But with Edward Cabrera, again,
and you can wink now, so because now that we have the video component, you just be like, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
There we go. But again, he missed some time with the bicep muscle fatigue, made his first start on April 27th in Jupiter, and then he's made 2 since then with AAA Jacksonville. His last outing, 5 shutout innings, 6 strikeouts, and he had 3 different situations where he's had runners in scoring position and 1 out in that game, and got all of the outs he needed, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The main thing for the Marlins at this point, and it was one of the questions I posed to General Manager Kim Ng last week, was, is there a timetable? What's the plan for his progression? And her response was, he's still getting his sea legs under him. It's going to take him a little bit more time, but he's starting to look like himself again, which is the good thing. But again, it's a matter of Are the Marlins going to rush him after dealing with an injury, after having the track record of injuries that we've established and talked about over the last few years? It's that balance of, okay, when do we need him and when is he going to be ready? It's towing that line of, it's just towing that line. That's going to be the interesting part about when they do it. And also, as I mentioned to Andre before we did the podcast, when I wrote my minor league recap for this week, they're at the point where things could line up where Sixto does end up being able to line up in that number 4 spot in the rotation that Eliezer's holding over right now. So it's not necessarily like they're going to have to do an extended stretch where he either doesn't start and then doesn't start for 7, 8, 9 days and then gets called up, or it's basically a thing where he may get one extra day of rest and still slot in perfectly fine. So that also helped in that front.
Absolutely. I mean, it's still handled with care type of thing. And I think that it's just going to come down to, I think, the performance of guys like Eliezer, and they have obviously, I think, bigger problems, we know, than the rotation with the bullpen situation and, the still lack of overall clutch hitting when they need it in a lot of these games. So, I mean, I think the important thing is to still kind of keep in mind the long-term picture here and not rush a guy that unfortunately has had multiple setbacks, and you don't want to have him push too hard and then have another one, and then there goes that window. So, better late than never. Get them in when they're absolutely sure, and then let's see if he can, take off from there. Not just a plug in a spot. Like, this is a guy they've been counting on to really be a mainstay piece in that rotation for a while. So that. Let's hope that they figured it out at the moment where that can take off, and it's not just a plug in a spot in the rotation.
Yeah, no, and it's with guys like Edward Cabrera, guys with Max Meyer, guys like Sixto Sanchez if he ever gets beyond 60 feet, that when you call them up, you want them to stay up. You don't want them to come up, have 1 or 2 outings, and then go, well, have fun back at AAA. They want to make it so that when they're there, they are there. And there's no debating whether or not you're going to have to send them back down.
Only laughing because the next time you talk to one of the sports guy, one of the guys over there with the Marlins, just ask him, has Sixto's taken one step back yet? I feel like he's been stuck in place for like a month or two. Like, has he backed up a little?
Yeah,
just a little. Just take like one step back. A little longer throw. No.
Yeah. And that's one of the frustrating things is they saw what they were able to have out of him in 2020. And then ever since then, it's literally been playing a waiting game with them.
It was phenom. And you looked at it like it could be huge going forward at the time. And here we are over a year and a half more later, and it's unfortunate. It really sucks because it's when you look back, just a big picture on that trade, he was the key piece really. And now, Alfaro didn't work out. And now Sixto is on the other side of that argument where that hasn't worked out so far in the grand scheme, other than that one bit in the shortened season. But you're looking at the long-term view, and it's a big question mark. So, it's unfortunate because, again, just like Edward, he was right there as being, well, more so even before, as being like a guy you looked at as, he was their top prospect. He was the one they thought was going to be right at the top of that rotation, potentially, either him or Sandy spearheading it down the road. And now they'll be just happy if he even pitches again in the major leagues soon, because, at some point, hopefully gets back on track. That shoulders, I'm telling you, it's Tommy John is Tommy John, but shoulders are bad too when they get messed up, and that's unfortunate to see how it's happened to him.
Yeah, it's tough to see, and we'll hopefully have some more updates later on to round up some other pitching updates. Since we talked about Max Meyer, his latest outing on Friday, 2 runs, 1 earned on 3 hits and 3 walks, while striking out 6 over 5 innings. He's 6 starts in, and with a 1.72 ERA. Opponents hitting 159 against him in AAA. Walks, hits per innings pitch is 0.86. Brian Hoeing, who, again, has been one of those fast risers this year. made his AAA debut on Saturday. The big thing for me was he went 7 innings. And again, that's been one of the things that we've been trying to see with some of these other guys is getting deep in the games. He gave up 4 runs on 4 hits. 2 of those, it was a pair of solo home runs in the first and the third, and then got himself into a big jam in the 6th where 4 consecutive guys reached base, 1 out, back-to-back walks with 1 out, and then back-to-back singles. But he was able to get out of that and then pitch another inning and get a clean 7th to finish it off on a high note. So again, seeing some positive strikes, he struck out 7 as well in that outing. So again, he's another guy who's been slowly working his way through the ranks here. And again, he got moved into Marlins top 30 prospect list by Pipeline, and he's making his case at this point. And then the last guy, the pitching side, Zach McCambley, in AA, first 4 starts, to say the least, were not great. He was about a 9-something ERA. Put together his first quality outing of the season. 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. Both of those hits came in the first inning. He then retired, I believe it was 15 of the final 16 guys that he faced. So that was a good outing. And again, it's a matter of can he build off of it, or is he going to revert back to what he did the first 3-4 starts of the season?
Right. Yeah, with a lot of guys, that's always the case, especially right now at this point in their career. We've talked about it plenty, that it's the process of it. It's can they, not so much the results, but can they handle, what can they pick up from each of those successful outings, continuing to refine everything, continuing to handle different situations and game situations too. Because I go back to the way I was like, saying it over and over when we were talking during the pandemic and they had everything was just on the backfields. The game experience when you have to really do the whole chess match against the hitter, that sort of thing, there's no substitute for that, and that helps all of these guys right now. And that's where a lot of them lost that time. And it's good that they're consistently getting it again now. Yeah.
And then to switch over to the position player side, could we finally be seeing what the Marlins were hoping to have been seeing for a while now from JJ Bleday? It's knock on wood
part, right?
Yeah. No, again, he had a 9-game hit streak that ended on Sunday, but in that stretch, 424, 14 for 33, 4 home runs, 3 doubles, 10 RBI, 8 walks against just 7 strikeouts, 12 runs scored.
That's good.
Yeah. Again, the walk to strikeout thing, I know that's your thing.
Yeah. No, because you're seeing the ball better. You're not, it's not everything, but it's key. It's very, yeah. That's one stat that jumps out at me always, especially the ratio when it's like that.
Yeah. And
that's good. That's good. I'm glad. I mean, I wish I could see his swing more and see how just the mechanics of it and how that's looking too, but positive signs.
Yeah. So it bumped his batting average again. He was at a point where he was barely around 150. His batting average is now up to 240 after that 9-game stretch. And just about half of his hits have gone for extra bases, 5 doubles and 6 home runs, 11 of his 24 hits.
Well, that's where, again, the power tool showing, and that's the stuff they liked and to begin with when they scouted him, at Vanderbilt and everything. I mean, you knew he was going to bring that if he could make contact consistently. And that's why it goes back to the low strikeout number, because if he's making consistently more contact, the odds are you're going to get more of that. And that's good to see the tools finally playing through a little more consistently than they have been for him.
Yep. And to wrap up the show today, a lot of stuff's going to be happening this weekend at the ballpark. Marlins, when they host the Brewers, they're going to be celebrating the 1997 World Series champions. Dre, do you have your bobblehead with you?
People are going to remember it when this happened.
There we go.
I'm putting him back like this because that's the way everybody remembers that picture of them jumping. I mean, if anyone wants to say hi to Council, they can say it that way. You're going to say hi to the real Council, not this Council. Yep. On Friday night, even though he's not going to be wearing this, unfortunately, he's going to be wearing the other, maybe the Brewer pinstripes, but good old Council, arms raised. I can't believe it's been 25 years.
So the Marlins with the Brewers in town and Council managing the Brewers. The Marlins are the entire weekend, Friday through Sunday, are going to be doing a bunch of celebrations. They have a lot of guys who are going to be there from 917. Jim Leland's going to be there, Kurt Abbott, Antonio Alfonseca, Gary Sheffield, which both of us were excited to see when we got that name on the release.
Yes, that's the one that I was like, if they get Sheffield, that'd be pretty cool. And there you go. He was the last name on your list, and I was like, oh, there he is. Awesome.
Yeah, they sent it to us alphabetically, so or for anticipation, whichever way you want to look at it.
I didn't even notice that. That's good. I'm glad they did, because it put him as like, if you're on the suspense as you're looking down, like, okay.
Yeah, and then you've got Cliff Floyd, Levon Hernandez, World Series MVP from '97, Charles Johnson, Edgar Renteria.
Yep.
Going to be getting a lot of the guys there. The main ceremony is Saturday, when they'll do a lot of stuff pregame. And also on Saturday, for those of you interested, birthday 8,000 fans to the ballpark receive a 1997 World Series replica ring. So to have that, from the ceremony.
There's a member of this household, not me, that already got her ticket for Saturday.
There you go.
So
yeah. And then the other things going on in the ballpark, Friday, the Marlins are for fans who have been Marlins members since the 1997 season, are going to get an exclusive pregame reception, which includes photo opportunity. And also on Sunday, members of the 97 World Series championship team will take the field for a special softball game before the Marlins game begins that afternoon.
Oh, boy.
That's going to be fun.
Get off on Senka, going against somebody.
Yep. And then during the game, a bunch of the 97 alumni are going to be around the ballpark taking pictures. So you'll have your chance again. Guys are going to be around throughout all weekend. So
that's cool.
It's going to be a fun weekend. Also, excited to talk to council on Friday when the Brewers get into town, just for him to reminisce about that moment. And again, like you said, hard to lose in 25 years. Granted, and again, I'm about to do the make Andre feel old moment. I was a month away from turning 3 when that happened.
Throwing the cap in the air. I had just graduated high school. So there you go.
There we go.
to give you the perspective there. It's the 25-year anniversary of my high school graduation from Champagnat that same year. So actually, one cool thing about when Marlins have won the titles, my birthday is on October 26th. It has always landed on either that day or the day after. The 2 times it landed either that day or the day after. So that was always a cool birthday present to see when they won the championships at both times. So but yes.
Yeah, so should be a fun time this weekend, but Marlins have to get through Arizona first. And with that, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Fish Bites. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll be back again next week.